March 8, 2014. Just after midnight, a Boeing 777 pushes back from its gate at Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Flight MH370 is beginning what should be a routine journey to Beijing. 6 hours, 239 passengers and crew aboard. At the controls, Captain Zaharieh Ahmad Shah, an experienced pilot with over 18,000 flight hours. Beside him, First Officer Fariq Abdul Hamid, transitioning to the 777 aircraft type. The Boeing itself, tail number 9 MMRO, a 12-year-old workhorse with an impeccable service record. Everything appears normal, weather clear, systems functioning, passengers settling in for the overnight flight. But within hours, MH370 would disappear completely. No distress call, no wreckage, no trace. 239 people, simply gone. What happened next would become the greatest mystery in aviation history. At 12:42 a.m. on March 8th, MH370 began its taxi to runway 32R. The weather was clear, visibility excellent. At 12:42 a.m. local time, the aircraft lifted off into the Malaysian night sky. For the next hour and 27 minutes, everything proceeded normally. The aircraft climbed to its cruising altitude of 35,000 feet, tracking northeast toward Vietnam. Captain Zaharieh and First Officer Hamid maintained regular communication with air traffic control. At 1:07 a.m., the Aircraft Communications Addressing and Reporting System, ACARS, transmitted its final automated message. At 1:19 a.m., as MH370 approached Vietnamese airspace, First Officer Hamid made his final radio transmission to Kuala Lumpur Air Traffic Control.
Malaysian 370, maintaining level 350.
Malaysian 370.
Malaysian 370, maintaining level 350.
Malaysian 370. Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
2 minutes later, at 1:21 a.m., MH370's secondary radar transponder stopped broadcasting. The aircraft and everyone aboard had effectively disappeared. When MH370 failed to establish contact with Ho Chi Minh City Air Traffic Control, confusion reigned. Was this a communication failure, a technical malfunction, or something far more sinister?
And no sign of the plane on radar.
The initial search focused on the South China Sea, along MH370's planned route. Vietnam, Malaysia, China, and the Philippines deployed ships and aircraft to scour the waters between Malaysia and Vietnam. It seemed logical. This was where the plane should have been. But they were looking in the wrong place. Military radar data, initially withheld and later released, revealed a chilling truth. After disappearing from civilian radar, MH370 had turned around. The aircraft had flown back across the Malay Peninsula, passing over Malaysian territory before heading northwest toward the Andaman Sea. This revelation transformed the investigation. The search area expanded dramatically, eventually encompassing over 4.6 million square kilometers, roughly the size of the European Union. What had begun as a rescue operation evolved into one of the largest multinational search efforts in aviation history. Australia assumed coordination of the underwater search, deploying sophisticated deep-sea vehicles equipped with side-scan sonar. The Chinese contributed satellite imagery and naval vessels. The Americans provided advanced acoustic detection equipment. Malaysia coordinated the overall effort while battling intense international scrutiny. Breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Inmarsat, a British satellite telecommunications company. Their satellite network had been automatically exchanging handshake signals with MH370's satellite communications equipment throughout the night of March 8th. These handshakes, 7 in total, created a digital breadcrumb trail. By analyzing the time delay and frequency shift of each signal, Inmarsat's engineers could determine MH370's approximate distance from the satellite and whether it was moving toward or away from it. The final handshake occurred at 8:19 a.m., more than 7 hours after takeoff. This signal came from somewhere along what investigators termed the Seventh Arc, a curved line stretching from Kazakhstan to the southern Indian Ocean. Further analysis of the satellite data, combined with aircraft performance calculations and fuel consumption models, pointed to a specific section of this arc, a remote area of the southern Indian Ocean, roughly 1,800 kilometers west of Perth, Australia. It was here, in some of the most isolated waters on Earth, that MH370 was believed to have ended its journey. With the physical aircraft still missing, investigators and theorists alike began constructing scenarios to explain MH370's disappearance. The evidence supported several possibilities, each more troubling than the last. The Malaysian government's final report, published in 2018, concluded that the aircraft's trajectory was likely the result of manual inputs. Someone had deliberately altered MH370's course. But who and why? Some investigators pointed to Captain Zahari himself. His home flight simulator contained data points corresponding to a route over the southern Indian Ocean, though this was discovered months after his disappearance. Critics argued this was circumstantial at best. Others theorized about hijacking, either by passengers or external actors. The 2 men traveling on stolen passports were eventually identified as Iranian asylum seekers with no terrorist connections. But the precedent of 9/11 made any cockpit intrusion scenario seem plausible. Mechanical failure remained a possibility. A catastrophic decompression or electrical fire could have incapacitated the crew while leaving the aircraft's autopilot engaged. But this theory struggled to explain the deliberate course changes evident in the flight path. The most exotic theories involve cyber warfare, the remote takeover of the aircraft's systems by state or non-state actors. While Boeing insisted the 777 systems were secure, cybersecurity experts noted that no system was completely immune to sophisticated attacks. On July 29, 2015, more than 16 months after MH370's disappearance, a piece of aircraft debris washed ashore on Réunion Island in the western Indian Ocean. The piece was a flaperon, part of the wing's trailing edge. Analysis confirmed it came from 9M-MRO. For the first time since March 8, 2014, investigators had physical evidence of MH370's fate.
Wing part suspected of belonging to that missing Malaysian Airlines jet is now in a lab for analysis. A team of international investigators hoping something on that piece of metal may finally reveal what happened to Flight 370. ABC's Alex Marquardt reports in from Reunion Island where they found that mystery part.
More debris followed. Pieces of the aircraft turned up on beaches across the western Indian Ocean, in Mozambique, Madagascar, Tanzania, and South Africa. Each fragment told part of the story. The aircraft had indeed crashed into the ocean and broken apart on impact. Barnacle analysis on the flaperon provided additional clues about water temperature and drift patterns. Computer models of ocean currents retroactively traced the debris back toward the Seventh Arc, supporting the satellite analysis. Yet despite recovering over 30 pieces of debris, investigators found nothing that revealed what had happened in MH370's final hours, or why the aircraft had deviated from its planned route. Behind the technical analysis and international intrigue lay a profound human tragedy. 239 people had vanished without explanation, leaving behind families desperate for answers. The victims' relatives endured years of conflicting information, false leads, and bureaucratic obstacles. Malaysia Airlines faced lawsuits and compensation claims that would drag on for years. The airline's reputation never fully recovered. The disappearance exposed critical gaps in aviation tracking. How could a commercial airliner simply vanish in an age of ubiquitous surveillance?
For the past 18 years, she's a lovely lady, a lovely wife, a very caring mom for my 2 kids. Yeah.
The incident prompted the International Civil Aviation Organization to mandate real-time aircraft tracking for all commercial flights. Airlines worldwide reviewed their security protocols. Some implemented measures requiring 2 authorized personnel in the cockpit at all times. Others enhanced their crew psychological screening programs. Nearly a decade later, MH370 remains aviation's greatest unsolved mystery. The main wreckage and the answers it might contain lies somewhere in the depths of the southern Indian Ocean, possibly crushed under thousands of meters of water. The case has spawned countless documentaries, books, podcasts, and conspiracy theories. Netflix's MH370, The Plane That Disappeared, introduced the mystery to a new generation. Amateur investigators continue analyzing satellite data and debris drift patterns, hoping to succeed where governments have failed. Some theories persist in the public imagination despite lacking evidence. Secret military bases, alien abduction, or elaborate insurance fraud schemes. The absence of definitive answers creates a vacuum that speculation eagerly fills. But perhaps MH370's greatest legacy lies in what it taught us about crisis communication, international cooperation, and the limits of modern technology. In an interconnected world, we learned that it's still possible for something or someone to simply disappear. The families of those aboard MH370 continue their vigil, hoping that someday, somehow, they'll learn what happened during those final hours over the Indian Ocean. Until then, MH370 remains frozen in time. A ghost flight that took off from Kuala Lumpur one March night and never arrived at its destination. In the end, MH370's disappearance serves as a sobering reminder that in our modern world, some mysteries remain beyond our reach. Despite our satellites and sensors, our computers and algorithms, 239 people can still vanish into the vast emptiness of the sky and sea. The search for answers continues.